Thanks, Gregor. Hi, Paul. Andrew Kopp mentioned something in two different answers that I found interesting about, he didn't use this term, but essentially it's draining the opposition's gas tank. He said, holding onto the puck in 3-on-3 overtime offensively means that when they get it, they don't have a lot of energy when they have it. And he mentioned something about doing that to the opposition by grinding them down in the offensive zone. How prominent a strategy is it in your teachings to do things that drain the opposition's gas tank and put them in a position not to succeed when they do have opportunity?
So the first part of that question, were you relating that to 3-on-3 or 5-on-5?
He was related.
First part was 3-on-3. And then the second part's 5-on-5.
The 3-on-3 part, it's all about possession. So winning the faceoffs are a critical part to that. And then you're not necessarily waiting for your best chance, but you're looking to create an opportunity that it's not a casual shot, right? You don't want to waste something from the outside. Part of that is it's so difficult to get the puck back. So the change of possession in 3-on-3 is the critical event. When possession change, that's when the breaks start to happen. Your 2-on-1's going the other way. So you want to see if you can control that possession change. Make sure if you're going to give it up, it's for a legitimate scoring chance. 5-on-5, there's a whole bunch of things that lead into you having the puck and playing in the other team's end. And it's just a lot more draining on the other team to defend. Your forwards seem to have lots of energy playing in that end of the ice, but that goes to all things again related to possession change. We would rather have the puck on our stick than not. It's a challenge against Montreal because they're such a really good, I would call it a second quick team, but getting their second player in to help on a battle, they excel at it. So you have to move the puck or your feet very, very quickly. You can't hang onto a puck and stand. I think when we're on our game, that fits our style of play.
Go next to Scott Billick from the Winnipeg Sun. Go ahead, Scott.
Hey, Paul. Question for you about Josh Morrissey. Last year, he was quite critical of himself, just kind of how his game was last year. Where do you see him 22 games into the season this year? What has he done to improve himself?
Quite a bit ahead of where he was. So there's a lot of changes that's over the 3 years that we're talking about. For 2 years, Josh came to the rink. He knew what his partner was going to be. He was going to play behind Adam Lowry's line. He was going to play against the other team's best. I mean, that was a guaranteed at home. And now there's more. Right now he's on the power play. He's got a new partner, and we run them differently behind, I would say, different styles of offensive players that they're playing against. And, Tucker Pullman was a rookie at the start of last year, got some experience by the end of the year. We like the pairing more. And of course, Tucker's been in and out of our lineup. I think with what he's been through, we're really happy in the direction that he's going, and he's adding to his game. So he was such a very dominant, kind of unusually dominant defensive player in terms of the number of plays that he would kill, break up, not as a big man, but certainly as a competitive man. And now he's adding an offensive component to his game with a new partner and kind of a new assignment. So with all the things that have changed for him over the last few years, I think he's right back on track and heading in the right direction.
We'll go next to Mike Mcintyre from the Winnipeg Free Press. Go ahead, Mike.
Morning, Paul. Just the obligatory lineup question. Everybody come through the other night's game and practice okay? Same lineup tonight?
Correct. The same lineup tonight.
And we'll go next to Mitch Clinton from Jets TV. Go ahead, Mitch.
Hey, Paul, you've talked about, the amount of pucks that Montreal gets to the net, and I suppose the front of your net would always be a priority in the defensive zone. But when you're playing a team with that kind of shot volume, is there like a priority on, man, like getting your man first, or is it first touch on the puck? What kinds of things are kind of a point of emphasis in that area against a team like this?
So you have an opportunity. One of the values of putting a puck to the net, even if it's not a great scoring chance, it turns the defensive team toward their net, which keeps them from kind of a strong breakout position, a strong counter position. If you are hanging onto the puck, and that's a challenge sometimes with the style of game that we play, if you're hanging onto the puck more looking for a slightly higher percentage shot and you lose that puck, the team is in a better position to break out. So for us, all the basics of defense, man between man and nets and stick on puck and all that kind of stuff. But the real challenge is getting the first touch on that puck. So when it is shot to the net, that's a potential change of possession, right? They've had it, they shot it. and we want to be the team that touches it first. Montreal very, very quick, and they get under sticks, and even if you touch it first, they're really good at stripping you. So I thought in the first we had a real high energy level with that. I thought we touched it and moved it and got our game going forward. I thought we fell off that. We did that to ourselves in the neutral zone, but we fell off that in our own end of the ice, and that's zone time for them, and that's when they get going. And they'll get flurries of pucks to the net at a time. So getting that first touch on the puck's a real important piece to it.
We'll go next to Kelly Moore from CJOB. Go ahead, Kelly.
Hey, Paul, the last 3 games, you've given up a power play goal in each of those games, but in 2 of those 3 circumstances, you were like within 10 seconds, I think it was, of killing off the penalty. I don't know if that's frustration that enters into it there, but also, I mean, you're doing a lot of good things. How do you prevent that last? Is it a lapse at the end, or is it something else?
No, I don't know the answer to that, because it's a legitimate question, and it's something that we've dealt with here. We gave up a fairly high percentage of goals in the last 10 seconds, 12 seconds of a kill. I'm not sure if it's fatigue setting in, but they've been kind of unusual too, right? Some strange tips around the net. I think we gave up four goals in our first 3 games, and from that time, and I'll take it straight through to now, our penalty kill for me has looked the same. So when we talked about this at length yesterday in the coach's room, has there been a change? Is there something missing? Are we falling off? Because you're always looking for those early indicators that something that you've been doing well is starting to slip. We don't feel it has. We feel we're on a bit of a run where they're getting maybe a little bit of puck luck, because the other parts of that kill, and you go back to the earlier game 2 our penalty kills outstanding, right? Like the Van game, we had just a spectacular kill. They barely touched the puck. They put one shot at the end, and net, it gets tipped. It's in the net, and now you're 0 for 1 on your kill. So we feel we're still right where we want to be with our penalty kill. We think that it's made huge improvements, certainly since the first 3 games of the season.
We'll go next to Louis Jean from TVA Sport. Go ahead, Louis.
Hey, Coach, just curious to know what your approach is when it comes to facing a new coach. I know, most coaches will say it's all about us. It's about our system. It's about how we dictate the play. But I'm just wondering if, in terms of strategy, how much time you're spending on what the new guy that you perhaps don't know much of is trying to do, and how that impacts you.
Yeah, if we had a game coming up against a new coach that I hadn't faced before in another division, or I would watch them more closely. It turns out that we're on the bench with them for their first 5 games. So the coaches have this kind of small piece of impact in the game. Part of what we do is we get to know each other. So there's all kinds of tendencies. How fast are they to make a change in their lines if things aren't going well? Will they double shift the line that's going well? What are their tendencies after timeouts? And the question for us last game is, when's the goalie coming out, right? There's certain guys, that are taking their goalie at the 3-minute mark. They'll take them real early. Some guys wait. So you're trying to do the math on the clock for how many seconds you've got up there, and you've got a bit of an unknown because you're not really sure when the goalie's coming. So there are things. That being said, it doesn't really matter if your 4th line is out against their 1st line because you miss something in terms of how he runs his bench if your 4th line scores a goal, right? So it doesn't have the end-all impact, but it is different, right? Everybody has a style of running a bench, and new coach is a brand new thing. So we'll watch it a little closer for sure, just to get a feel for it.
Go next to Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet. Go ahead, Sean.
Hey, Paul, you said earlier, it's hard to get the puck back in OT. I think personally, from what I've seen from your team with the 3-forward system, that they've done a really good job of being aggressive when they don't have the puck and going to get that puck back. We get why 3 forwards should work offensively in overtime, but it seems to have worked defensively for you as well in getting possession back. Why has that worked that way?
Well, just go in the old idea, right? If you got 2 forwards and a defenseman on the ice, but you're in man-to-man, which is basically there's so much ice out there. Switch-offs are a very difficult thing to recover from. And if you're running a zone defense 3-on-3 and you don't have the puck, you're never getting it back, right? You're waiting for them to shoot it. So go back to that idea. You've got 2 forwards on their 2 forwards, or on a forward and a D. they're doing the exact same thing that they would be if there were three forwards in there. So there's no difference between how they handle their little one-on-one that they've got going, whether it was a defenseman on the ice or a forward on the ice. So I don't think, I mean, maybe you lose the one-on-one strength of a defenseman being able to skate backwards and take a player like Connor McDavid on. Maybe a guy, I don't know how many guys can do that anyway. So you might as well just skate forwards with them. But there's a decided advantage offensively, right? You put the guys on most blue lines in the NHL, and there are exceptions to this, you know, the high-scoring Victor Hedmans of the world, Roman Yossi's that can get up the ice like a forward and have the hands like a forward around the net. There's a big difference between, you know, on our team, Nikolai Ehlers having the puck, and then one of our defensemen who are great players, but just not forwards. So it's something that, you know, we're a little bit faster too with Pierre-Luc in our lineup. Like all six of our guys can get around the ice, and I mean, Paul Stastny can get up the ice, and he's so efficient on how he moves. So there's lots of speed there too, which are all the great components for 3-on-3.
And final question to Scott Billick from the Winnipeg Sun. Go ahead, Scott.
Hey, Paul, I've asked Kyle now and Andrew about the direct game that you like your team to play, that shoot first mentality and all that. It seems very simple, I guess, on the outside to play a game, north-south, that sort of thing. Why is it so complex when you're trying to do it consistently on the ice?
Well, the other team has a major impact in the style of game that you want to play your game, but it's going to look differently every night depending on your opponent. So I guess the way I would try to describe it to you is there's 80% of the game, nothing really happens. It's just, you know, people are running the routes they're doing, and you're waiting for a break. You know, it's a less extreme version of 3-on-3 where you're just kind of waiting for your break to happen. In the 20% of the game where something creative happens, somebody misses a check, they flub a puck, you make an incredibly good pass, whatever it is. I'm not necessarily looking for a direct game there. That's their creativity, away they go. I'm talking about the almost the quiet parts of the game that are there's not a whole lot going to happen. And if you try to make things happen in that segment of the game, you usually end up in trouble. That would be the first 4 shifts off our bench to start the second period, right? We put pucks into the middle 3 times, but there was no benefit to it. I mean, maybe 1 in 10, 1 in 20, you get a break on it, and you might score a goal and it ends up on TV, and everybody says, geez, that's the way we should play the game. But the game doesn't allow you to be creative with everything. So we're just encouraging our hockey team to think about the parts of the game where nothing's going on. Let's get a real direct mentality to our game. And then when they get to that odd man rush, it's on them. Use all the creativity and skill that God gave you. Feel free. The coach isn't going to yell at you at the bench if it doesn't get to the net.